Hello, people. Welcome to Sports Panther with Jesse. Okay, this is 2:15, so it's coming a bit early. So I apologize for that because normally I would do this around 6 o'clock UK time, but there's a whole lot of official engagements that we've got. So we're cooking something for you guys. So we're doing a story in faraway Uganda, and it's a top story. So just imagine one of the greatest athletes to ever come out of Uganda. We're doing a story on that. So I want you to stay put uh, on our platforms. Yeah, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Facebook. We're on Twitter, X, and then we're also on Instagram. So very soon we're gonna add TikTok. So yeah, join us, subscribe to all our platforms. So when these stories drop, you get to be the first to see it. So watch out for that. So once I'm done for today, then I'll be headed out for an official engagement. So to sort out all of these things. Okay, let's get into it. Today, what are we going to do? We are going to review the African participation in the FIFA Club World Cup. That is what we're going to do. So without much further ado, let's review the four teams that have represented Africa. And the first thing we're going to do is give them a cheer. We're going to give them a clap. They've done well. In fact, considering the amount of money that European clubs spend, between January and uh, June, Manchester City, they've spent over $300 million. Liverpool have just spent over $210 million. Arsenal, they're spending millions. How much are African teams that we expect to go to these tournaments? How much are they spending? And they still hold their own, right? So we give them a drum roll. Yeah. So um, four teams represented Africa, and as we have mentioned before, the prize money for this edition of the expanded FIFA Club World Cup is superb. It's fantastic. This is an opportunity for African teams, especially from countries that do not have football legacy in Africa, to strive to get into, because this is a money's game. If you can't pay, you can't get the right and the best players, to play for you. You can't set up infrastructure. So we talked in the past about how your government and the businesses can be of help in Africa in setting up proper systems, proper structures upon which the clubs can now strive to go out there and make money. So let's get into it. Depending on, I'm going to be using the pound. You know that the pound is weightier than the dollar at the moment. So 775 million pound will be about 1 billion and a little, dollars on top of it. So 775 million prize pot will actually mean 1 billion US dollars. Now convert that into whatever local currency that you use in Africa. That is massive amount of money. But I'm going to use the pound, to tell you what the prize money is and how it's been distributed, right? So this time, FIFA expanded, the Club World Cup to 32 teams. 32 teams, came together to fight for 775 million prize pot. That is over 1 billion US dollars. So this money will be split among those 32 teams in using different criteria, which I'll mention later. But the person who wins the cup is going to end up with 97 million pounds, right? 97 million pounds. just for playing how many matches? 6 to 7 matches. Right. So clubs will take home a set figure for each round they reach. Right. A win in the group stage earns them £1.5 million. If you have a win, that is £1.5 million. If you get a draw, just a draw, that is £800,000. So that is about 1.2 million or so dollars. Now they get, and if you reach the round of 16, which unfortunately African teams did not reach, you get a further £5.8 million just for getting to the round of 16. And then if you get to the quarterfinals, you get £10.1 million just for getting to the quarterfinals. If you get to the semifinals, you get £16.2 million. And if you get to the final, just for getting to the final, so this is not winning or losing, it's just for reaching certain thresholds. Once you get there, if you get to the semifinals, you get £23.2 million. And if you get to the finals, you get £30 million for winning. Now, imagine Manchester City is the only team to have won all their group matches. Now, the money that they got just for participating was around 10 million. And now they've earned 1.5 million. So that is £4.5 million already. So this is a huge amount of money. Oh, we got, keep the comments coming in. So Kudis is saying great insight. Yeah, thank you. That is what we do on More Sports. We just want to make sure that we bring all of this information to help us as Black people, as Black nations, so that we can participate properly with knowledge and with understanding. So Manchester won all their group matches. So that is 4.5 million. And they will definitely get to probably the semifinals. So that is the money on offer. So if you, in dollars on our page, you must have seen that we listed how much was paid to the African team. So Mamelodi Sundowns got $12.5 million. They got 9 million for qualifying, right? And they won one match, which was about $1.2 million. No, what am I saying? $1.8 million, because it's in £1.5 million for one match. So that's around $1.9 million. And they got a draw. A draw gave them, will mean that they go home with £800,000. So that's around $1.2 million. So Mamelodi Sundowns placed 22nd overall, and they got $12.5 million. Al-Ahly, they won a match as well. They won just one match. No, they drew. I'll get to that. They drew. They went home with $11.55 million. Esperance of Tunis came 25th. So Mamelodi Sundowns came 22nd. Al-Ahly came 23rd. And Esperance of Tunis came 25th. So they went home with $11.5 million. And then Wydad Casablanca lost all of their matches. They just went home with the appearance fee, which is $9.5 million. So there's been quite a lot of criticisms about this money. Yes, this money will distort the power that clubs have in their respective countries. So if you take the top 5 European teams away, where there's a whole lot of television money, sponsorship money, and gate takings and all of that, the teams that are coming from Austria, they are not as well oiled financially as teams from the top 5 European leagues. Team from the Polish league, Think about Lithuania. Think about all of these less rich countries and clubs. So imagine that a representative from, uh, let's say, Austria takes home $30 million. In that league, suddenly they are able to buy some of the best players. They're able to offer wages, to get the best. So it kind of like, tips the balance in those leagues. Well, that is the European League. But in terms of Africa, this represents a huge opportunity to make money. So every 4 years, I think FIFA Club World Cup is every 4 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I have in my head. You can correct me, please. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. I can get your comments, from here. So that would be super helpful. So, for instance, let's quickly see how that has happened for Chelsea and Manchester City. So already, City has grossed about 27.9 million, right? And a little bit over that. So this is how it works out. Participation for Man City is bigger than they paid the rest of Africa. It was around £9 million, $9 million. Sorry, $9 million. But participation for big teams like Manchester City is £27.9 million. Now in group stage, they won all their 4 matches. That gives them 4.4 million. Now they've qualified for the last 16. They got £5.5 million. If they go on to win the quarterfinals, they'll get 9.6 million. If they get some semifinals, they make 15.3 million. If they get to the finals, they do 21.9 million and all of that. So now they signed players. They signed Ryan Aït-Nouri for 35 million. Already they've paid for that. The money that Chelsea have won so far has already paid for the transfer of Liam Delap. Do you see how this is working out now? Teams are actually covering the cost of signing players just by going to the Club World Cup, because it's a $1 billion free for all. If you can get to if an African teams get to the semi-final and they're coming back with, say, £80 million, that is a whole lot of money that is going to turn the fortunes of that club around. So this is the type of money that we're talking about. So let's quickly do a review of African teams that participated in that tournament, because they're all eliminated now. So we can talk about what they did right, what they did wrong. So Al-Ahly of Egypt, they're Africa's most decorated club. They've won 12 Champions League titles. So they were in the group that has Inter Miami. Messi plays for Inter Miami. They have Palmeiras and Porto. So they had 3 draws and 1 loss. But the highlight of that, of their performance was the 4-4 that they played with Porto. They played 4-4, 4-4, yeah. 4 goals apiece. So, of course, they finished bottom of that table because they did not win anything. 3 draws and 1 loss. But the 3 draws actually gave them £800,000, £800,000, £800,000. That's 2 point something million pounds. So you get it now. So playing 3 draws actually it's good, business. And this standout player for Al-Ahly was Wessam Abu Ali. He scored 3 goals. So he's the leading scorer for that team. Now, of course, the only team that came from sub-Saharan Africa, I hate to use that word, that came from the black part of Africa, is Mamelodi Sundowns. And they had a win. They won one match, actually won one match. They drew another one. The match they drew, okay, let's do the bio first. They are 8-time South African South African League champions, and this is their second ever Club World Cup appearance. They play in Group F against Ulsan, Borussia Dortmund, and Fluminense. So they won against Ulsan 1-0, drew 0-0 with Fluminense, and narrowly missed knockouts with 4 points. So the standout player was Ikram Reyners. He scored the winning goal against Ulsan. But the whole team has been praised for their tactical discipline. That Mamelodi Sundowns team, they are playing like a well-drilled, team. So that is Mamelodi Sundowns. Of course, the next team that played was Esperance of Tunis. There are 4-time CAF Champions League winners. They were in Group D with Flamengo, Chelsea, and LAFC. So they lost 2-0 to Flamengo. They had 1-0 win over LAFC. Then they lost 3-0 to Chelsea and exited on 3 points. The standout player for Esperance de Tunis is Youssef Belaili, who has been credited with having a lot of creativity and goal contributions. So those are the names you need to watch out for, because the Club World Cup is also a place where teams go to scout, for other players. Yes, I keep the comments coming. The legend, you said, very good money being thrown around by FIFA. It will be very beneficial to our African clubs if utilized properly. Of course, you're right. That's what we've been talking about. That the 1 billion, don't forget, we mentioned about 2 weeks ago, actually came from sponsorship money from the Saudi Sports Investment Fund. Right? So if you looked at it, DAZN, that is linked to Saudi Investment Fund, actually was the one who bought all the rights to TV rights, for that tournament. So that is where that money came from, if you know what I mean. So this is what we're talking about. So let's quickly run over the names of the fourth club and the last club that represented Africa was Wydad Athletic of Morocco. Actually, they call Wydad Casablanca. So they are 3-time CAF Champions League winners. They were drawn with Manchester City, Juventus, and Al-Ain. They lost all 3 group games. They scored twice, but conceded 9. Their standout player was a veteran, Nuruddin Amrabat. He used to play in the English Premier League. And then they had a young talent that came up, Mohamed Rahi, and he was a stood out, talent. So these are the 4 teams that represented Africa. So now, as we said, let's quantify it in dollars, what they took home. Mamelodi Sundowns took home 12.5 million. Al-Ahly 11.5. Tunis, Esperance of Tunis 11.5. Wydad 9.5. Do you understand that with all of this money going into these nations, they are going to dominate African football for the foreseeable future? If you look at all of these 4, teams that represented Africa, they have got good infrastructure and structure, footballing structure in their home countries. So if you've got all of that, you're able to keep your players and you're able to make your league very, very competitive, and you're able to pay good wages. And now they've got another outlet to get money, and they're taking this money. They're taking it. So this is what we've said. Look at Nigeria with a rich heritage. Look at Ghana. Look at Kenya. I mean, when I was growing up, Gor Mahia of Kenya used to be a household, name in the African football world. TP Mazembe, yeah, they floundered a little bit, but they are in now. If all of this money is not going into these other nations, they are being left behind. That is just, the simple, case here. So, like we said, we always want to, what should African, clubs do? Because we don't just want to highlight the problems alone. We also want to profile solutions, right? So, what is going to happen is you cannot even get to play at the Club World Cup, right? If you do not do your homework, if you do not make your league competitive, if you do not bring proper structure in which you can have advertising money, in which you can have corporate sponsorship, in which you can have government involvement. If you don't have all of these things stitched together, then you're not able to even compete. So I've listened to quite a lot of Africans. Oh, get Dangote in, get all of these rich people in. Look, if you get all of these rich people in and there's no support from the people, then it's just like Abiola Babes. Where's Abiola Babes today? Abiola was a billionaire and he had a team. As soon as he left, that was the end of the team. So it takes more than a billionaire to actually keep a club running. It takes, like in the case of Nigeria, you cannot have insecurity and you say football is going to prosper. Just forget it, right? So when you have stability, economic stability, you are able to bring all of these things together. So if you look in all of these countries, if you look in South Africa, if you look in Tunisia, if you look in Egypt, and if you look in Morocco, there is a lot of economic stability and certainty. And the people rally around their clubs. That is where you start from. I will always say one of the best clubs that you ever find in Nigeria is Stationery Stores Football Club. Of course, it was started by the Adebayo families, but it's been taken in by people of Lagos. And even when they're defunct, people are still buying their merchandise. That is how strong the association and the connection and the affinity between clubs and the base, the fan base, can actually be. It's the same thing in Ibadan with 3SC. They are not called 3SC, but we used to know them as Shooting Stars, RICC Shooting Stars. That is a club with such rich and fanatic following. You can also take the Rangers of Enugu. That is a fantastic team. I don't think that team is ever going to lose followership. They've been there like forever. All that club needs is proper structure and funding. It's going to fly. So, yeah, that is where you start from. If you don't have social stability, peace in your country, economic stability, that means you can plan. So advertisers and corporate sponsors, they can plan for 4 years, 5 years, because if you're doing good business, then you have this money that you want to invest into sports, to get a name for yourself. So when we used to have Leventis United, that was any club that is any business that is sponsoring a club actually is a symbiotic relationship. I'm getting something out of it, and then you are getting something out of it. That's how it works. So that's how. So unless you have this political stability, economic stability, you are not even in the shout to be able to capture this £1 billion, $1 billion that FIFA is dangling at the Club World Cup. No. Because it's only when you're strong that you can win African Champions League, you can win African Cup Winners' Cup. That's how it works. And then you can go represent Africa. But for those who have already represented Africa and have won this massive amount of money, I think the best way to invest that money will be to target a targeted use of youth development, facilities, and talent retention that can boost, long-term performance. The Nigerian league is just a farm league. You're just farming talent that you want to quickly sell to Europe, sell anywhere. We have today we have Nigerian players playing in Indonesia, playing in Malaysia. Okay, just have a think. What level of football, when you're talking about football, at what level of conversation do you get to have Malaysia or Indonesia? Yet we have quite a lot of players going there. Why? Because they can pay more. So we need to upgrade domestic and continental infrastructure. See, we need to address the issue of scheduling, games across Africa. You understand? And professionalism. How you employ a player, what you pay them, how they develop, and how you sell them on for profit, and how you retain, your identity, how you connect with the local people. All of these things are interconnected, right? So we also need to look for how to retain top talent. Gone were the days when Cameroonians will see Roger Miller playing day in, day out. Gone were the days they will see Oman Biyik, playing in their league day in, day out. Gone are the days where we saw all of our stars, African stars, playing in African leagues. And if you look at Wydad, Noureddin Amrabat, when he finished playing in Europe, the Moroccan league was good enough for him to come back to. And look, he has helped his team. When Kanu Wako finished playing, was he able to come back into the Nigerian league? No. You know the rest. You're intelligent people. So we need to retain top talent. So we need to support. No, you see, CAF needs to support national federations so on better coordination of calendars. The footballing calendars, they're all clashing. They don't know what they're doing. They should share best practices. This is how you need to run your clubs, run your associations. And they need to also offer infrastructure and support, because I know FIFA channels a lot of money through CAF, Confederation of African Football. So they need to raise, standards across the continent to help people. So the thing is that if African and the Club World Cup is here to stay, and it will generate more money, more or less money, African teams need to start to take it seriously, because this is money that can develop African football. So I hope that sheds more light on the participation of our 4 teams from Africa who have done very well, considering the amount of money they've got, the talent they've got, and the structures that they've got. They have proven themselves. We can't expect them. Even into Miami with Messi, with all of these internationals, and with all of this money behind it, have they done better than Mamelodi Sundowns? No. In fact, Al-Ahly, they should actually be blamed for playing a draw with Inter Miami. They had like 6 clear chances to bury that game. That game should have ended like 4-0 or 5-0. Trust me. But you can go search it on YouTube and see for yourself. So the quality of games that African teams are playing is fantastic. But if you don't raise the level of other African clubs to play at the same level, so the problem is you're always going to have these massive, well-funded, well-oiled, well-supported teams taking all of the chances And all of these teams, without all of the support, they keep regressing. And these other ones are going to progress. So that is what we don't want to see in Africa. So that is where we are. The FIFA World Cup. Yeah, a lot of people don't want to watch it. We're going to talk about it when it's over. We're going to review it. There's so much around it, like people not attending as much as they need to. The ticket pricing was too steep. They had to reduce it twice or thrice. But overall, what this represents is that there is $1 billion on the table. As African clubs, how much of that money do we want to take? That should be our preoccupation. So that will be it for today. Thank you for joining with me to examine this. Don't forget, we appreciate what you're doing by listening to us, by subscribing to our channels. We do appreciate you. We do appreciate you so much, and we're going to grow together. And so, be on the lookout. We're cooking up a fantastic story. Be on the lookout. We got another legend uh, journalist who is now sending in articles that you can read on all the platforms of more sports. His name is Kelechi Deka. If you've not heard about that name, right, go and Google it. You'll be surprised. Yeah, it's going to write for more sports fans. You can read him. So it's a privilege. So yeah, join me again at another time. And when our story from Uganda breaks, watch it, give us feedback, join, chat, share everything we're doing. We appreciate you for it. So have a nice week ahead of you. God bless.